Good morning again.
Good morning.
I'm Leanne Potter. I direct the Office of Professional Learning and Outreach Initiatives here at the library, where our Literacy Awards program lives. Welcome to the Library of Congress. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being here. I have a couple more thank yous and a good introduction to give. First, let me thank Judy, let me thank James, let me thank Vivian and the rest of my team for helping make this happen. Thank you as well to our multimedia colleagues who are at the back doing some filming right now and are the ones responsible for that terrific film you saw just a little bit ago. I'd also like to thank Sherry Werb, who is the director of our Center for Learning, Literacy, and Engagement. Sherry's support of this program is vital, as well as the support of all of our board members. And I want to give a special shout out to Alistair Chang, who's in the back there. He's our new board chair and is pretty dynamite. We're happy he is on board. And one more super important thank you, and that's Kathy Milliken, who's back there trying to get a cup of coffee. Kathy's the head of our development office, and really if it weren't for the support of our development office, our ability to present these awards and host events like this wouldn't happen. So yay, development. And finally, and certainly not least, another important supporter of our Literacy Awards program is someone who has always supported literacy efforts and is a big champion for the work that all of you do. And I am delighted to be introducing you to Dr. Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress. Dr. Hayden really is a true champion, and she's here to do all the high fives. So, Dr. Hayden.
Okay. I'm getting excited. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Leanne, and good morning. It's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Library of Congress. We've been looking forward to hosting this for many, many months. And thank you especially to those of you who travel from across the country and from around the world to be with us today. And yes, Leanne, I heard a lot of noise coming out of the Mumford room, and which tells me, though, that this is a very enthusiastic and excited group, and that's perfect. So the purpose of today is twofold. The first is to celebrate your outstanding achievements, and the second is to inspire one another by making those meaningful connections that you've already started. This symposium, because of that, is really unique. How often do you get to speak face-to-face with a fellow literacy advocate from outside of your own organization, your local community, your state, and even the country? How often do you get to talk about your successful literacy practice with a fellow practitioner who understands your work and who might have their own ideas to share? And how often do you get to learn about 23 other outstanding literacy organizations all at once? Not often. So today, you have a special opportunity to engage with fellow literacy champions who share the same mission: to promote literacy and foster a love of reading. And I also want to just encourage you to be intentional about your participation in today's agenda. Be brave and make connections with someone new. Exchange ideas and experiences and be open to the collaboration opportunities that might increase when we have a collective impact. And as you do this, this is a special plea from me. Consider what roles the Library of Congress can play in this literacy space. And most importantly, let us know. So that's part of the be brave, tell us to our faces, write it down if you want to do that, send us emails later, because you might have ideas when you leave this symposium and you think about what the Library of Congress can do for you. Because arguably the largest library in the world. The argument is with the British Library. Just who counts items and who counts a folder. But those are our colleagues. But the library, yeah, we had to do that. Those are our real partners. Because we say that the Library of Congress, though, is a library for all. And we want it to be a place for you and the people that you serve. So we want to serve you. And before we get started with the actual awarding of the awards, I'd like to thank some people. Although he couldn't be with us today, we have to thank David M. Rubenstein for his ongoing, very generous support of the Literacy Awards program. With his generous and consistent support since 2013, the Library of Congress Literacy Awards program has awarded more than $3.8 million to more than 200 organizations in 40 countries. That, we could clap. And because of the program, I also want to thank the Kislak Family Foundation for generously sponsoring the Literacy Awards program from 2023 to 2028. And with their support, we were able to expand the Literacy Awards program for the first time in its 12-year history with 2 new prize categories: additional funding for the Successful Practices Honorees Prize, and the first ever in-person meetings with previous winners and honorees across the country. So we thank the Kislak Foundation for helping us grow the program. And last but not least, we want to give a big round of applause for the Literacy Awards Advisory Board for their invaluable contribution of time and expertise for this program. Please stand so we can thank you. You need to be recognized. So, now, the moment we've all been waiting for. It is my great honor to recognize the 2024 Literacy Awards winners and honorees. And we'll begin by recognizing the recipients of the inaugural Emerging Strategies honorees. These 5 organizations have been selected by the advisory board for demonstrating significant promise in their recent approach to literacy. These literacy initiatives have all been established within the last 5 years and show great potential for continued impact. So would you please stand from your seats as I call your name. The Brooklyn Book Bodega. Yay! The Latinx Kidlit Book Festival. Safford City Graham County Library. The Sami Parliaments Library. Norway. And the William Patterson University's Real Men Read. Yes, they do. Thank all of you for your wonderful work, and to be established within the last 5 years when you had the pandemic. There were all kinds of things going on. These were hard 5 years, so thank you for making literacy a priority, and we want to make sure you continue. Next, we'll recognize the Successful Practices honorees. These 15 organizations have been selected for their implementation of a successful practice in elevating youth voices, empowering communities, engaging instructors and mentors, expanding support networks, and, if that wasn't enough, for pioneering innovative approaches to literacy. So would you please stand as I call out your name. Charmazgi. And if you don't recognize how I'm saying it, I apologize in advance. There we go. Thank you. Coatson Foundation for the Art of Teaching. Educational Arts Team. Enhancing Children's Lives Organization. Erie Neighborhood House. Everybody wins, DC. The Help Us Grow Foundation. With special hats. Okay, we want that. Impact Networks Read Smart Senyawa. The Literacy Lab. One World Education's One World Academy. School the World. The Shout Mouse Press. Universal Reading Foundation. And although they weren't able to join us today, please applaud for the Alam Bibi Trust. Judy's been helping me quite ably and waiting for me to go on, because now we'd like to recognize this year's top prize recipients. The 2024 David M. Rubenstein Prize is awarded for an outstanding and measurable contribution to increasing literacy levels either inside or outside the United States. The recipient of this prize has demonstrated exceptional and sustained depth in its commitment to the advancement of literacy. It is my great pleasure to award the Laundry Cares Foundation, based in Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois, with the David M. Rubenstein Prize. Would you please join us on stage? Oh, he's going to take pictures, but I have one more thing to say about you. Because we recognize you for transforming a place that everyone goes to in neighborhoods and communities and laundromats, and changing that place into a place of safety with welcoming reading nooks. You make everybody want to do laundry.
That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear.
But that's going where people are and making it convenient for them to have literacy practices. That's what you really do.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Do you want to say something?
Well,
That's not in the script, I'm telling you.
no, it's not in the script. You'll hear a bunch from me later, but I'll just start with the thank yous. This whole table here, all of our inspirational experts, both in literacy and the laundry business, coming together to create something really special. So thank you so much on behalf of an entire industry that's trying to do more.
The inaugural Kislak Family Foundation Prize is awarded to an organization based in the United States or abroad for its outsized impact on literacy relative to its size. Now, it says I'm excited, so are you. Because for the first time ever, we are thrilled to recognize, and I'm going to start with saying the Tauranga Nui in New Zealand as the inaugural Kislak Family Foundation Prize recipient for successfully revitalizing the Maori language through a network of schools with complete language immersion environments and a 6-part educational philosophy. Please come and receive your award. And what I would really like you to start out by saying is how to say it correctly.
Te runanga nui o ngā kura kaupapa Māori o Aotearoa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Because your educational philosophy has had global impact and is really an example for how to make sure that native language preservation is central to so many efforts. And we thank you for what you're doing. No.
On behalf of our whānau, our families of Kura Kaupapa Māori o Aotearoa, would like to give these books to you and the library, and I hope that people might want to learn what we talk about when we talk about tikanga Māori, the way in which we do things, our customs and our belief systems. Ka nui te mihi, ka nui te aroha a ngā whānau Kura Kaupapa Māori. Kia koutou ki te whānau Kislak. On behalf of Te Runanga Nui and all our whānau in New Zealand, we would like to express our love to you for the generosity of the whānau, the family Kislak, and awarding us this prize. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Let's tell them with the book. And this is the author of this book. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next, we have the American Prize, which is awarded to an organization based in the United States for making a significant and measurable contribution to increasing literacy levels in the U.S. or the national awareness of the importance of literacy. And so, the 2024 American Prize is awarded to We Need Diverse Books in Bethesda, Maryland.
What an honor it is to be with you all today. Thank you so much to the Library of Congress, for all the board members for this incredible honor. We couldn't have gotten here without the Library of Congress as well. For many years, they partnered with us on our annual Walter Dean Myers Awards, which honors excellence in diverse children's literature. It's also our 10th anniversary this year. So what an amazing birthday present to get. And I just wanted to say how inspiring it is to be with you all today. We are all in this work together, and we are partners, and it's wonderful to make new friends. So thank you so much.
You probably know that We Need Diverse Books increases the number of diverse books for young readers by impacting every step of the publishing process and distributing inclusive titles to schools across the country. Last but certainly not least, the 2024 International Prize is awarded to an organization that is based either inside or outside the United States for their significant and measurable, you notice I keep measurable, contribution to increasing literacy levels in a country other than the United States. It is my pleasure to award the Al-Sawa Project for establishing schools and providing a welcoming learning environment for refugee youth in Lebanon who would otherwise be left out of a local schooling system. And the country of Lebanon, as you know, is undergoing severe, severe stress. So please, let's have a round of applause for our winner. Please come up. There we go. Look, stair steps. You pronounce it correctly. Yeah.
So thank you very much. I would like to thank just two sets of people, really. Firstly, this community that we have in front of us. I mean, it feels very good to be integrated into this community. I've only just started to get to know some of the people in this room, but what an extraordinary group it is. And secondly, the Library of Congress. I have still only a very vague idea how they managed to select us out of so many, but it does say huge amounts about their due diligence and about the effort that they take as they award these prizes, that they manage to find us. Thank you.
Well, I think we know how the Library of Congress does that. It's that advisory board. One more round of applause for them. Because the due diligence, when I mentioned their time that they take, so much. I've been in some of the meetings and the expertise that they bring in, and just it's invigorating to hear them. And that's why we want to keep expanding the award program so they can give more awards, because that's part of the issue is there's so many organizations that are doing good work, and so we want to be able to recognize that. So thank you for the recognition of how that happens, and congratulations to everyone. Please know that you have a partner at the Library of Congress, and we all want to make sure that people of all ages from around the world have the skills they need to read, to write, to think critically, and have the confidence to navigate their own path in society. Free people read freely.
Hi, everyone, again. Thanks for being patient with us. My name is James Santos. I'm the Administrative Assistant for the Literacy Awards Program. Again, it's been such a pleasure to work with you all, and I'm really happy that you're here at the Literacy Awards Symposium. Thank you for answering your emails. To celebrate and share your achievements with us all. A reminder, this is a celebration, so please enjoy the work that you've done, enjoy the work that everyone else has done. And now it's the time that we'll get to hear from our 2024 top prize winners. To introduce our first speaker, I'd love to invite to the stage someone who is no stranger to receiving a literacy award and is now the chair of the Literacy Award Advisory Board, Alistair Chang. Alistair is the Ward 2 member. Yes, please give it up. Alistair is the Ward 2 member on the DC State Board of Education and previously served as the Executive Director of Libraries Without Borders, the 2016 Literacy Awards International Prize recipient. So please, again, a round of applause for Alistair Chang.
Hi, everybody. Great to be with you all today. This is my favorite gathering of the year, and our job as advisory board members is to make sure that you're having a good time, you're meeting one another, and that we get to continue to build this incredible community from across the world, from across the country, that helps one another do this work. It's not easy work, and particularly in contexts that, and regardless of the context around us, it's really nice to be able to come together at least once a year like this to be celebrating and sharing best practices, promising practices in the work that we do. Every year I come, I get inspired by the folks that I get to meet, and so please, if you haven't said hello to someone that you haven't met yet, take the rest of the afternoon to do so. I get the honor today of introducing our top prize winners, and I think for me, this is an incredible opportunity for us, all of us in the room, to not only meet some incredible people, but to learn about a really excellent case study in literacy innovation. And the idea itself is innovative, right? Already, it's literacy, laundromats, duh, right? And what they teach us here in front of us today, and what we'll get to hear in a few moments, is that literacy innovation is not just the idea, right? It is also the incredible passion that has been put into this work. And Brian, if I may put you on the spot, earlier today you were sharing with me how that passion, how you felt that passion the first time that you saw you had a partnership and actual literacy programming in the space, and I know we're going to hear from some of your colleagues, but if you wouldn't mind sharing just what that first moment felt like for you.
Yeah, so 9 years ago, we had our first Laundry Cares event. It was a free laundry, and Brian's going to talk about that, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, but it was supposed to be just a free laundry day and give back to the community with entertainment and free food. And you know how free stuff is. They get free stuff and they forget about it tomorrow. But Jane, along with Brian, said, you know, can we come to your free laundry event, and we want to set up a table, we have a book author coming, and we want to read with the children. Well, during that 5-hour event that we had 534 family members there, we all looked and we saw what was going on, the engagement taking place between the children and the volunteers. And it just dawned on us when we sat down afterwards and we summarized what took place that day. It's not about the free laundry. It was about connecting with our communities and making a difference. It so inspired all of us. We had 70 volunteers that came in from 20 or 30 different states to just offer this free laundry day. And 9 years later, you know, we've done over 300 of these events, and Brian's going to talk about that. But yeah, it inspired a whole industry, in our industry anyway, of leaders to step up and trying to make a difference in our communities.
So literacy innovation is not just about the idea. You can sense the passion, right, in the way that this group is talking about the work. Literacy innovation, as we think about it, is also about the partnerships. And one of the things that I think has been incredible about the way that this group has been building the work is by bringing people along, right? And I'm looking at Jane, and I would love to put you on the spot now to talk about some of the first interactions that you had with this group.
Well, I didn't even, hi everyone, I'm Jane, and I'm a proud board member of Laundry Cares Foundation. It really just started thinking about the day in the life of children and families, and where are they spending time. And so we mapped out all these different places, from parks and libraries, faith organizations, and then we listed laundromats, because we knew that was a place where families were spending 2.5 hours a week. And then I think the medium household income is about $25,000. And so we went to Google and we said, coin laundry owners of America, how do we get to as many laundromats as possible? And lo and behold, there's a Coin Laundry Association. So who knew? And they represent 15,000 laundry operators across the country. And so Brian will share a little bit more about this, but it was the openness and the receptive, just like the openness of Brian and this whole team here on behalf of an industry that you wouldn't associate with literacy, but this is a channel and this is where we knew families were spending time. So how do we turn, I think our first slogan was wash time is talk time, wash time is read time, wash time could be sing time, wash time could be learning time. And so turning these everyday moments of families, and the hope really has been to connect with communities, turn this simple daily moment into a meaningful moment for families, and also through these free laundry days and through literacy and by providing books, helping to lighten their load a little bit. So it's been a wonderful partnership, so thank you.
Okay, so we have a fantastic idea. We've got some serious passion, great partnerships, and then a third point that stands out to me about this group is just the incredible perseverance. The amount of twists and turns that you all have taken to make this work, right, over the years is just incredible. And with that, we'll hear about some of these, the history, the progression, the impact, and I'm just absolutely delighted to introduce Brian and Liz to the stage to talk more about how you think about innovation, how you think about the impact, and what you have done with this incredible organization. Yep.
Thank you, Alistair. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll do this. What a day. Beats a day at the laundromat, I think. That's a big part of our story, too. So, I could probably chew up all of our time with thank yous. We are still, frankly, stunned with this recognition. And particularly now that we come here and spend the day with you, other award winners. I mean, the work that you're doing is just incredible, and I think we see lots of opportunities to connect and maybe partner, or at least inspire each other. So congratulations to all of you, and we really truly honored to be here. So you got to meet Brian, who's our board chair, and Jane from our board. Dan Nauman is our executive vice president running our day-to-day. Brian Holland is our incoming board chair, and we just have so many people to thank along the way. Oh, a little bit louder? Oh, I'm loud. Okay. We can make that happen. So thank you. So what is this laundromat business? Our day job is we run a 501c3 trade association. So like Jane said, we're an association of laundromat owners. And like a lot of trade groups, we do education and networking and lobbying, advocacy, business solutions. And a number of years ago, those of us with long tenure, I'm now 33 years in the industry. I think BG, you said 37 years. Dan's probably about the same. We sat there and said, you know what, this industry's been really, really good to us. And at least from my perspective, I know that my livelihood for 30 years often really starts with that mom dropping a quarter in a washing machine, right? Because that's the industry that we're representing. And I said, well, what can we do to try to honor that and lift up the neighborhoods where we serve? And so we really created Laundry Cares Foundation without a plan. And maybe some of you have been in this position where we have this aspiration, this intent to in our case, try to give back to the under-resourced neighborhoods where we do business. But we didn't really know how to do that. And so we tried a couple things here and there. We were really honestly adrift until Jane Park called me and said, Jane was at the Clinton Foundation and their Too Small to Fail initiative at the time, and said, are we crazy, or wouldn't laundromats be a great place to make this connection? And we were only smart enough to say, yeah, let's do it, let's do this. We don't know what that's going to look like. And through that process, we even, kind of the old fake it till you make it, we created a laundry literacy summit. And a number of you in the room showed up, and we just kind of said, how are we going to do this? And then Liz McChesney showed up, who at the time was running the children and families at Chicago Public Library. She goes, well, we've been going out to the laundromat for years. I said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And so we started to bring in more feedback from the literacy experts and getting our heads together. And that by the second or third summit that we did, we had this notion of creating a family read, play, learn space that hopefully you're seeing on screen on occasion, where we're building a mini library space within the laundromat that has educational resources, that has puppets and play toys, but most importantly has books, and not just books, but books that are being replenished on a monthly basis so we can encourage the kids to take those books home. So, this notion of the laundry business is really rooted on the fact that it's a ubiquitous business, especially in the neighborhoods that need the most help. We are an essential business. That's one of the things that came through our COVID experience as an industry, is that we were able to attain essential business status and stay open, which also meant we could provide resources during that time. And one of the things I've learned in my tenure, again, my day job is president and CEO of the Trade Association, is that laundromats are a mirror held up to the neighborhood. If you want to know what's going on in any neighborhood, go to the laundromat. You're going to meet the people, you're going to hear the stories, you're going to see the wins, the losses, the concerns, the challenges. You're going to see it in that space. And so to me, this is, again, kind of an extension of that. A little bit more on why laundromats. So I just mentioned proximity to need, right? So we're located where the most help is needed. We have, Jane mentioned it, we have long dwell times, what retailers would call long dwell times, right? Even we're trying to make that faster from a business standpoint, but it's still an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or more of otherwise sort of dull, dreary, watch the socks tumble kind of time. So can we upcycle that with this type of intervention? And then we've got this recurring visits, almost like a classroom schedule. If you do laundry every Thursday afternoon at 5 or every Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday night at 7, that is your pattern. That is your recurring pattern. And so having these spaces available where kids can gather, get books, from a business owner standpoint, if they're in the library space, they're not riding around in laundry carts or other things. Because again, we're a retail environment where people are coming to work, not shop, right? So it's a chore, so the parents and caregivers are doing work, and so if we can give kids something better to do, we're all for that. So the two main ways we live the mission, you're seeing in some of the pictures. BG mentioned our free laundry days, which became our free laundry and literacy days, which I've come to call a community hug, where we're not just providing those free resources, but helping make connections. We often open that up to other community resources, because we've created this channel, this reach into the hardest to reach families that are in the most need. And so we've seen that through health literacy, financial literacy. Probably one of my favorite stories, we did the event in Charlotte where there was a free pre-K program that turned out a lot of the families didn't know that they were eligible for. And so it's really cool when a kid leaves the laundromat with a library card. Even better if they're enrolled in a program that they didn't know about. Something as impactful as free pre-K. So this, what Ralph Smith at the Campaign for Grade Level Reading calls bridging eligibility and enrollment. And we feel like we've got an awesome opportunity to do that in the laundromat environment. And so we've got the events, now we have the mini library spaces, and what that brings about are these expressions of care. And what we've heard a lot from the families that we serve, it's like the last place they expected. Right? This is a drudgery, this is a chore. You never heard anyone say, I can't wait to get to the laundromat. Those words have never been spoken. But once they do arrive and take care of this chore, having a space like this and a vibe like this really helps to sort of elevate that experience and brings people together with more resources. And the other thing that, if you get a chance to chat with our table here, every one of these events yields some kind of really impactful, human connection that we wouldn't have otherwise had, especially as we bring in volunteers from all over. We all have stories of meeting that one customer who was was in a tough spot. And just this expression of care, or carrying their laundry back to their car, all of a sudden, touched them in a really impactful way. So we are just absolutely honored and privileged to do this work. And now you might be asking, does it work? This is kind of a novel concept. All right, you're going to do this at the laundromat. Does it work? Well, thank goodness that Liz McChesney is here, who's the true literacy expert, and she's going to talk to us a bit about how it works and does it work.
Thanks, Brian. So first, just thank you, everyone, so much, particularly Judy and James, and of course the advisory committee. Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you, Judy, again, for saving me. The advisory committee under Alistair and the incredible Dr. Hayden, who I had the great good fortune of working under as a new children's librarian at the Chicago Public Library a few years ago. I'd also like to give a special acknowledgement to the team who's here today, the incredible Dan Nauman, our fearless leader, Executive Vice President, Brian Holland, our incoming board chair, who's also a laundromat owner. Some of these photos are from his stores, does incredible work. Brian Grell, who is our Chief Enthusiasm Officer, and just the most amazing visionary. And of course, Jane Park, who came to us from Too Small to Fail. She's now at Google, but she stays on with us as a board member. And it's from her kindness and heart and imagination that this whole idea came from. So at Laundry Cares, we embrace UNESCO's definition of literacy, a fundamental and ongoing skill that empowers people to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using written and printed materials. But literacy is far more than just a skill, right? It's social, it's humane, and in today's fast-paced, ever-changing world, it's both a human need and a basic human right. And it's the key that unlocks human potential. I don't have to tell anyone in this room that. The journey towards literacy begins at birth, and for us, we really hone in and focus our energy on early literacy. The early years are where the foundation for everything is laid, and so we're really laser focused on equipping children with the tools they need to start school ready to read. Talking, singing, reading, writing, playing. Those are all our sort of mantra and our flag. And I'm proud to stand as a librarian within the laundry industry now. Through the Coin Laundry Association and Laundry Cares leadership, this is an industry that is deeply committed to transforming outcomes for the people and communities they serve. You heard that from Brian. Our current work, in the crux of it, is really about meeting people where they are, reducing the barriers, increasing access. We're centered around 4 pillars: transform spaces in everyday settings, predominantly laundromats, but we also have some sites in family court, waiting rooms. There's a jail waiting area that's very near and dear to Jane's and my heart, particularly. Robust book giveaways that are culturally affirming and contain a rainbow of titles for parents and children to cherish, parental engagement, and then these partnerships that are so critical to us at a national level and then at a community level. So let me tell you about the magic that happens in a Read, Play, Learn space. What might begin as a neglected corner of a laundromat becomes something extraordinary, a space filled with laughter and wonder and learning. We fill these spaces with preschool furniture and a cozy couch for a caregiver and child together, and with high-quality, open-ended materials like puppets and blocks and magnet tiles, all designed to spark imagination and conversation and give parents a place to take a breath and just be with their child. I get to see it firsthand, the kids and the families, faces lighting up, loving these spaces, sharing stories and laughter. The stories spin alongside the laundry. The second area of our mission, book giveaways, is equally transformative. A book can open a door to a world a child never knew existed. In my years as a librarian, there's one thing I know deeply, and that's that the right book at the right moment can change a child's life forever. I still get chills when I say to a kid, "Come with me, I have just the book for you," and see their faces transform. In our spaces, we provide a variety of beautiful, culturally affirming books, funny books, high-interest books, lushly illustrated picture books. These aren't just giveaways, they're gifts of possibility and dignity and imagination. Dr. Susan Newman is our research partner and reminds us that offering families choice in books is critical. And I know all of you know that. And then, of course, parental engagement and family engagement. We often take the time to really get to listen to families and acknowledge their strengths and what they need. None of this would be possible without that fourth pillar for us, partnerships. Our collaborations with Too Small to Fail, Lakeshore Learning, Scholastic Publishing, and community groups, local libraries, retired school teachers, early literacy councils, that's the secret sauce that makes this possible. We were just told by a mom in Baltimore at a free event, I want my child surrounded by ways to grow. These books help me connect with my child and help them love learning. We know this work makes a difference one family at a time. For us, literacy is not just a skill, it's a civil rights issue. Too many children today are unseen, without access to books, pushed through a system that maybe can't nurture their unique contributions. At Laundry Cares, we try to make the time to meet families where they are and see children as the individuals they are. We get to lift them up and to recognize their talents and to connect them with books and learning. We strive to build a future that is more just and kind and humane, a future where literacy is not a privilege but a right, and where every child has the chance to thrive, one book and one load of laundry at a time. Thank you so much for having us here.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to...
Can I just do one more little short thing? No, what I wanted to end on, and thank you so much, Liz, is the business case. Like, oh, these guys are so nice, they're in the industry, they're giving back. No, there's a great business case, and I think it helps us think about other opportunities. And so the business case for us shows up in a couple different ways. One, probably you walked in here today, you say, laundromats? You know. So we're an industry that needed reputation building and being seen in a better and different light. And we had talked as a board for years, oh, we need to have a PR campaign, we need to promote, well, this is our got milk, like we found it by doing this work. It's not what we set out to do, but all of a sudden we're earning a reputation for the work that Liz just described more than anything else. You can talk to Brian Holland here about it's a differentiator in the marketplace. We hear it all the time. I walk past a couple of those other laundromats because you've got this space for my kids, right? And it, for many of us, has just given us a higher purpose in the business that we're doing. And so, as we like to say, it's the right thing to do, and it's good for business. So I just think that's important. And what we said in a lot of other different venues, if we can do it at the laundromat, you can do it, right? And if it's another everyday place or space, another local business, if we can do it, you can find a way to give back to the communities where we do business, where the most help is needed. So I just wanted to end on that business case.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you, Liz. We have time for one round of questions. So if you have a question, Judy will come around and pass you the mic. I think what I'd love to do is gather a few questions and then get a chance to quickly answer. And
Thank you so much for sharing your program, your approach. It sounds so impactful and so meaningful. And my question regarding that is, it sounds like just word of mouth, you're hearing how this is having a positive impact on people in the communities these laundry mats are located in and this work is happening in. What other approach to measuring the impact that your work has are you involved in?
I saw a few more hands, Judy, if we can just hear a couple more questions and then they can answer all at once.
Within your communities, have you had issues with adult illiteracy? Any issues that have come up with that? You know, we talk about parents reading to kids. In some cases, parents are struggling to read themselves. So how have you encountered that, and how have you addressed that?
How do we measure this? this?
Thank you for that question about evaluation. First of all, I mentioned just briefly that Dr. Susan Newman is our research partner. We've done several levels of evaluative studies, and the statistics are in. There's 30 times more literacy activities happening in laundromats with sustained space. And we know that when we add an early literacy provider, like maybe one of all of you, into a laundromat, there is an average of 85 minutes of sustained early literacy activity, which Dr. Newman herself says is a remarkable amount of time. We see that reading time increases by 31% when new books go in, followed by construction play, block play, magnetile play. And we know from a study that was done by the Department of Planning in Chicago that families will travel by 6 other laundromats to get to the one with a transformed space and an early literacy program in it. It's that critical of a need. We all know that, but they'll travel to get to this, which says a lot when you think about, these giant loads of laundry that people are coming with. And we know that when a children's librarian or an early literacy provider is in a laundromat space, children are engaged 62 times longer in activities. We've also done some research around contextual language development, and we see that kids learn words like detergent and bubbles and dryers, which is also critical for learning that literacy happens within your environment and within a larger environment. So we continue to evaluate. We are just tweaking our KPIs right now for this next year and looking to do sort of an analysis between an urban laundromat and a rural laundromat to see what the language gains are, excuse me, for those settings. And in terms of adult literacy, thank you for that, absolutely. It's a huge need in our communities. And so at our events, we try, while our focus is early literacy, we always bring in as many resources as we can. So we have an event actually with the staff, our third staff member is at today in Austin, Texas, and the Greater Austin Literacy Council will be there to address parents' needs and to help get them to resources in the community. We tried to just bring as many community resources to bear as we can. We had an event not too long ago where a mom said to me, I'm afraid to say this, but I don't read very well. Where can I go? And so she wouldn't have said that day if we hadn't met her in the parking lot and talked to her about it. And I think all parents need a sort of a shot in the arm about the fact that they're doing it okay. It's tough to be a parent. And just letting them know and nurturing that that even sharing the pictures in a book is a literacy activity, is sort of how we provide a dignified answer to families, but then we also connect them to resources whenever we can.
Thank you so much, Liz. And one more round of applause for this group. Congratulations. Great. Do I get to introduce Donald?
Sure.
Okay. Great.
Okay, if you want to pass the mic, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Donalyn Miller, and I'm one of the advisory board members. It's just, wow, there's a lot of you when you stand from here, and you're not moving. It's so nice to see all of you, and I really appreciate all of you who have traveled some distance to be here. It is my honor to announce the inaugural winner of our Kislak Family Foundation Prize. This year's winner is Te Runanga Nu Onau Kurakaupapa Maori, Inc. The organization receiving this award is a model upon which most native language revitalization efforts are based worldwide. They have demonstrated how to bring a language that was sleeping back to vibrancy. The heart of the program is immersion of young learners in Te Reo, the Maori language, through a curriculum that is based on the Maori philosophy and cultural values. Over 30 years, that idea of converting the need for a living Maori language has been actualized so that today, 68 Kura Kaupapa Maori schools enrolling a total of 7,500 children exist across New Zealand. This community thrives with involvement and recognizes that the wana, or family, includes the families as well as educators and children. They have been diligent in seeking and receiving national support for their schools. The need to prepare educators specifically for the Kura has resulted in an education three-year teaching degree program through Massey University. We applaud these efforts and say kia kaha, stay strong. It's the board's belief that this work will continue to change the world. I'm honored to introduce Hohepa Campbell, who is the current chief executive of the National Association of Maori Immersion Schools in New Zealand. He first became a teaching principal at the age of 26 in 1994, teaching children ages 5 to 12 years old. He has been involved in establishing schools throughout New Zealand. It has been an honor to support the revitalization of Te Reo Maori through Kura Kaupapa Maori. The National Organization of Kura Kaupapa Maori Schools protects and nurtures children and their families to protect and foster the unique indigenous characteristics of their schools, ensuring that graduates become global citizens of good character. And along with him will also be our Pine Walker, who is a passionate founding parent. I think it's wonderful that we have someone who has been with the organization as a parent and now as a leader of Kura Kaupapa Maori. And, sorry, my phone decided to scroll. She has worked in numerous schools to assist parents in understanding the unique ethos of these schools. She's also been instrumental in developing the curriculum. Currently, she's the parent of 2 students, and she is also the manager of professional learning development for teachers and parents. They are now starting to see intergenerational transmission of Maori in New Zealand. I welcome you to the stage. Congratulations on your award.
Nā tāne ngā rangitu hāhā I piki ki te tiki I ngā kete e toru o te wānanga. It was the god Tāne who climbed the heavens to get the 3 baskets of knowledge. Nāna ngā kete I homai kia tātou te ira tangata, kia puta ki te whai ao ki te ao mārama. It was Tāne who gave the baskets to humanity so that we could all live in the world of light. Tēnei au e tūnei e mihi kaunei kia koutou katoa e hui hui mai nei tēnei rā. Ka nui ngā mihi a te whānau kura kaupapa Māori ki te whānau Islak. Me tā rātou koha kia mātou. I stand here humbly today and thank everybody for coming, and especially the whānau, the family, Islak, for giving us this donation for our whānau. He kaupapa he mea nui tēnei kia mātou, tēnei mea te whai koha, tētahi ki tētahi. We teach our children that one of the characteristics that we want them, within them, is the characteristic of humility and sharing and caring for each other. So I would like to express my gratitude on behalf of all our whānau to the Foundation of the Family Kislak, as well as the Library of Congress. Te Runanga Nui, the National Federation, Kura Kaupapa Māori, Māori Immersion Schools, o Aotearoa, of New Zealand. I've only got 5 minutes to speak. So you've got to put up with me for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So the next slide is going to be a slide, and someone might like to tell the librarian because she welcomes challenges. I was looking at the slide on the library of where New Zealand was on the Congress website, and we weren't on the map. So I found another map which places New Zealand at the bottom of the world in the centre. We are way down in the Pacific Ocean. The background. 34 generations ago, my ancestor Kupe travelled from Tahiti with his family looking for a new world for his family. And that's and for many of our children now, they will whakapapa the genealogy will be at least 28 generations. Whakapapa, genealogy is central to everything that we do. Our belief systems come from our ancestors. So New Zealand, Hawaii, and Easter Island is the Polynesian Triangle. We are Polynesian. All our ancestors, believe it or not, who went to these different islands in some time originated in Rangiatea, Tahiti, 2 hours from Tahiti, the Society Islands. I went there last year, and for my great-great-grandchildren, I made sure I brought them some black pearls to remember their ancestor, Kupe. So, the Pākehā, or the white people, came to New Zealand and started to bring the gospel in 1769. And in the 1800s, that's where I get my Pākehā first line from, Massachusetts, he was a whaler. In the 1800s, started to visit New Zealand for the oil and the whales to take back to Mother England for their lamps. And then we had the missionaries spreading the gospels, telling our people that your gods are not right, and we believed them. We turned away from our belief system. And we started to lose our culture. We started to lose our language. And despite in 1840 us signing a treaty with the sovereign of England, Queen Victoria, who just happened to be 21 years of age at that time. And so the impact of colonisation since the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi has had a huge impact on Māori people. So our next slide is that, and I have to express my gratitude because I've been thinking about the impact of Martin Luther King. In the 1970s, we had the black movement and civil rights. In the 1980s, that led us to be brave enough to challenge the government. We now have the right to establish our schools. We have a right to decide what is best for our tamariki. So we had established a schooling system outside of the mainstream schooling system, and we are proud of it. Te Reo Māori. Our customs, our traditions, our values is central to everything. Kohanga Reo is the pre-schooling component of Kura Kaupapa Māori, and that was established in 1981. The first Kura Kaupapa Māori was established in 1986. Te Ātārangi too was a significant contributor to literacy, particularly oral language, because it gave It's the use of the Cuisenaire rod system. It's called the silent way. And that's a method in which all us teachers who began to become teachers of kura kaupapa Māori started to learn how to speak. The next slide. So our kura kaupapa Māori, there's 69 kura, there's 7,500. A third of our kura are in secondary schools. I think it's K9 to K13, and two-thirds of our schools actually teach from K1 to K13. Teachers in our school will teach 2 or 3 subjects at K12, 13. We are full immersion, and this year's our 30th anniversary. We are a non-profit organisation. We are a Māori organisation. We're proud to be Māori, and we're an incorporated society. Ka nui te mihi, kia koutou katoa. I have one more slide. So, if you want to understand our kaupapa, we have written, and there's a written English interpretation has been written. If you really want an in-depth understanding about how our schools operate and our belief systems. In the introduction, it talked about 6 distinctive parts to our kaupapa. The nature of humankind and children. Noticed how I gave thanks to Tāne and acknowledged Tāne for climbing the heavens. We're wanting our children to remember their stories, to recreate those stories, to tell those stories. And we're now starting to see intergenerational transmission of the language. We have a student here who was part of, at my school here, Reihana Paiwai, Etu. He now works at the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. He started preschool at 1 year old, and he went all the way through to year 13, K13. And so it's a real pleasure to see our students, and there's many of our graduates now making a significant contribution in New Zealand and around the world. So we've got te reo, language policy, social agencies, my affiliation to your tribe, to your people. How does that relate to me? What do I need to do to respect you and your culture? We talk about the world, the fundamental truths, the Sky Father, the Earth Mother, Papatuanuku, and the different gods who all contribute to our well-being. Those are the fundamental truths that we talk about when we look at the world, te ao. And of course, we've got the principles of teaching. The difference between our kura and many of the other mainstream schools is all our tamariki are loved. We uplift and raise all our tamariki, no matter what their journey may be at any given day, no matter what may have transpired over the weekend or in the morning. We are there to catch them, guide them, and uplift them. That's what I mean when I talk about aroha. In Hawaii, aloha. And the final part of our 6-part philosophy, te aho matua, the thread that binds us with the spiritual world, the metaphysical world that we all live in. That's what te aho matua and the uaratanga is about, the outcomes. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Arapini Takuingua. My name is Arapini, and I'm from a tribe in the central part of the North Island of New Zealand. James very helpfully sent us some questions that we might want to include in our presentations today. And so one of the questions was, what is your view of literacy? What is literacy? So the girl in the picture, when I was doing the application, to submit the application, I was running a bit late. And I noticed at the last minute that you had to have some letters of support. And when I looked at that a bit closely, it said community could offer support. So I thought, well, what better than one of our graduates to write a letter of support for our application? So the girl in the picture wrote the letter of application, wrote the letter of support for our application, and that's a picture of her and her grandmother when she graduated from Victoria University in New Zealand with a Masters of Museum and Cultural Heritage. And this is her view of literacy that she's gathered since she's been through our school since she was 5. Started at 5 and finished, I think, when she was 18, and now she's back at the school doing stuff for them and with them because she works for the National Library of New Zealand. So this is her view. All languages are sacred. All languages are sacred to us all. So no language is better than another language. Literacy is beyond oral and written, so it's more than what is spoken and what is written. Literacy exists all around us, in all parts of the physical world, flora and fauna, traditional art. Māori language is a doorway to our worldview. Without our language, we would cease to exist as a distinct people. So that was her view of literacy when she wrote her letter of support for our application. So. And that's, I guess, our view as well. One more slide. One of the other questions that James said we could respond to was, how do you overcome challenges? And I think in a room of people that work in the area that we do, with the limited resources a lot of time, resources including people, I think one of the things that we have learned over the last 30 years is resilience, to be resilient and to know that, there's another day coming and there's another challenge coming, probably. A culture of a continuous improvement. We're always looking to improve what we do. We're never satisfied with our results from yesterday. We want to improve what we do tomorrow. We always put the outcomes at the forefront, so our students are our outcome. And we maintain an absolute focus on those children. All children are achievers. We believe that all children are achievers. All children are capable of reaching their potential, and it's our job to help them to find and to do that. And language, culture and identity are crucial. So that's what we would offer in that space. Is it question time?
We have time for a round of questions. So if you have questions, raise your hand and I will come to you and we'll collect those questions. Thank you. Judy's going.
Good morning. I'm very impressed with what you are doing. My question is, how are you incorporating teaching the Maori culture as well as teaching the national language in New Zealand is English, is it not? So how are you coordinating the two in your educational system?
Thank you for the question. It's a good question. What we've found in the last 35, nearly 40 years, is that if children have a good grounding in their first language, in the mother tongue, then they will be able to develop and learn other languages. And for us in New Zealand, English is all around us. It's on the TV, it's on the radio, it's in the shops and the laundromats. So we don't have to concentrate so much on English, and many of our schools don't start to offer English as a subject when the children reach high school level, when we know that they have a good grounding of literacy in the Māori language. And we have one school in the city where I live where they actually teach in 3 languages. They teach in Māori first, then English is introduced, and they also teach in Spanish. and children seem to have no difficulty picking up 3 languages.
Many of our children too will start reading by themselves at 7 years old. That's how early, and they will teach themselves because English is everywhere around them. And if they don't, 9 years old. But the difference is for us, we encourage and we raise them up and we move them on to the next level. But there is an expectation that our children who graduate will be fluent in both languages, and they are. The results speak for themselves. Our national assessment results for secondary students, high school students are equal, or if not better, than the general population.
Lorraine, I'll give you the mic.
I heard the phrase national language I'm not Maori, I'm Anishinaabe, but I've learned that in Aotearoa there's more than one national language. Maori was first, then they remembered English. So Maori, English, sign language. So.
Yeah. So these are 3 official languages in New Zealand: English, Te Reo Māori, and sign language.
How many students do you have? How many schools do you have? And do you have? Are you attracting mainstream, the general population, to your schools?
We have 70 kura, 70 schools. We have 7,500 tamariki in our schools. It attracts about 3% of the population, our type of schooling system across the board for Māori children. It's a lifestyle. Our children, we need it. We are when you come to our schools, there's an expectation that you will leave your English language at the gate. The English language is seductive, and it creeps in through every nook and cranny into your school. And so we proudly enforce rules to ensure that our language thrives in our schooling communities. But now, intergenerational transmission of the language is our goal. We are now seeing homes where Te Reo Māori is being spoken, and that's the effect. We are staunch supporters. Te Reo Māori, we love you.
Thank you. This is so wonderful to learn about. Question for you. Can you talk a little bit about your journey and what has changed over starting 40 years ago, and then the intergenerational changes, and how you serve your community differently or the same as when you started?
That's a good question. So for my generation, born in the 60s, we were not brought up with the Māori language. Even though my parents could speak, my father was brought up by his grandparents, so he was basically a native language speaker. He did not teach us the language because at that time they were told that it had no value. So for myself, I'm a second language learner of Te Reo Māori. My children are first language speakers of Te Reo Māori, and now we have grandchildren who are first language speakers of Te Reo Māori. So that's the kind of trajectory that we've started. I think the difficulties in the beginning, and I'm talking 30 years ago now, was that we had no teachers who could teach in Te Reo Māori. We had no resources. I'm talking about books. We had very little books or other teaching resources. We had no. Most of our schools started in things like garages, people's garages or other community places. We had no schools as such. And so we had to start from kind of ground zero, which builds that resilience. And so that's been our journey. So now we've got children who are teachers, who are principals in our schools. We've got, we just recently, the first slide was, that you saw was Dr. Peter Sharples, who was one of the instigators of our initiative, and he was on social media about a month ago talking about how in their school, which was the first school, they are now getting the fourth generation child start at 5 years old in their school. So, you know, we're getting into that kind of level of impact, which is great.
When I started in 1994, I was in a room that big, no books, no chairs, no tables. We decided that we wanted to be like the ancestors. And we were happy to be like the ancestors because the mainstream schooling system was failing our tamariki. A conversation that I was having with the Minister of Education in New Zealand last week, she was trying to convince us that we should work alongside her in the mainstream schools and develop an assessment, a national assessment that can be done in English and Te Reo Māori. Kindly, I said to the Minister, that is not what we are about. We do not like to label our children. We will take them where they are and we will keep lifting them up. We refuse to label our tamariki, our children, with the assessment result, because that's what's failed our people for the last 200 years. So these are constant challenges. We have a waiata, a song to finish our speech if we do.
It's customary in our culture when you finish a talk or a presentation, you sing a song. And we didn't bring the singers with us, so we thought we would bring a recording. And this is a song that was written by our children and produced, video recorded, and the instruments and everything are all our children, all graduates of our schools. So we thought we'd bring you this song from them.
This brings a tear to my eye when I watch this. This waiata song is about our children acknowledging the ancestors and the impact that they have in the world in which they live in today. This is one of our schools. our ancestors navigated by the stars to New Zealand. Te aho matua, that link to our ancestors and our creators and gods. Language is me.
We have chairs and tables now.
All our secondary year K11, 12 and 13, 1,400 of them will be meeting in Wellington, New Zealand for their sports week. They love it.
All right, so to start our next presentation, we are going to be discussing the American Prize winner, We Need Diverse Books. And to introduce We Need Diverse Books, I will have come to the stage our esteemed board member, Chantal Francois.
It's so great to be here with all of you today. I have learned so much from all of you. I am growing in my understanding of literacy, the way that you think about it as a humanizing and empowering and justice-oriented act really just gives me pause, particularly in today's context. So thank you so much, each and every one of you, for showing up for all of the people who you work with, for showing up for each other in this room, for showing up for brownies and chocolate chip cookies next door, all of the good things. I am so honored to be here and also introduce We Need Diverse Books, the winner of the American Prize this year. Yes. And I just wanted to share a few words about their work and the organization, who has a very thoughtful, comprehensive approach to ensuring that young people's access to diverse books is innovative, because it seeks to transform those three major stages of the publishing process, from creating a book to publishing it and also getting it in the hands of young people. The organization understands that these acts are interconnected and that they develop their work to carry that mission out. We Need Diverse Books also demonstrated multiple impressive results that demonstrated the impact of their outreach, including students' perceptions of their participation and the number of book distributions, and also teacher and other adults' feedback. This organization has been relentless in its 10 years in flooding the field of children's and young adult literature with the books that all students, especially diverse students, want to read. The application shone bright in that it was clear that the organization strives to create a more empathetic world through the power of diverse literature. Simply put, this program focuses on expanding representation of a range of people in literacy, thereby affirming young people's identities. At a time when legislation in this country is strong against diverse literature, against diverse stories, identities, all of that legislation is at an all-time high in this country, impacting millions of students across the country. And rendering silence issues of race and racism and LGBTQ themes, we need organizations like We Need Diverse Books to thrive and to continue to resist and to even grow. I'm so pleased to welcome Caroline Richmond, the organization's executive director and an award-winning author herself. In her role, she oversees programs that diversify the multi-billion-dollar publishing industry, establishes partnerships with major corporations and stakeholders, and provides thousands of inclusive titles to readers nationwide. Let's give it up for Caroline and We Need Diverse Books. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm Caroline Richmond, representing We Need Diverse Books here today. And on behalf of our team and our board, I wanted to congratulate our fellow winners and honorees. I also wanted to extend our warmest thanks to the Library of Congress and the board members for this incredible recognition. It is truly an honor to be with you all today, and I'm so excited to share more about We Need Diverse Books and what we do. Is there a clicker? Perfect. Thank you. Right hand. Okay. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit that strives to create a more empathetic world through the power of diverse literature. We view literacy as the foundation of success for every child, and we also believe that diverse books have this unique ability to improve a student's reading skills, deepen their language development, and spark their imagination. But for decades, literacy rates have really lagged behind for marginalized children. And one of the reasons for this disparity is that it's really tough sometimes for diverse students to be able to find themselves in the books that they read. And this leads to lower literacy rates. And that's where We Need Diverse Books comes in. We were created to address this need. We are a national organization, and we enact change across the entire publishing pipeline. So basically from the creation of a story to the classroom full of readers. We were founded in 2014, so this year marks our 10th anniversary. That's why it's so poignant to be receiving this award this year. Because 10 years ago, WNDB as an organization looked very, very different than what it is today. And so I'd love to share how we got our start and my own personal connection to it. So back in 2014, I was a very new mom. I had my daughter, that's a picture of her in February of that year. And the first few months of her life were such a blur, but there is one morning that I remember with a lot of clarity. So it was April by then, and one early morning, I got my daughter ready and fed, and I put her on her play mat, and I sat next to her in a chair, and I was scrolling through my phone, as you do when you have a newborn and you have a quiet moment to yourself. And I was looking on Twitter, and I kept seeing this hashtag pop up over and over again on my feed. And that hashtag said, We Need Diverse Books. People from all over the country, even across the world, were using this hashtag to share why we need diverse literature. And I soon learned that the hashtag itself had been started by a group of authors, illustrators, educators, book lovers who came together under one goal, which was to clamor for change in the publishing industry. Because back then, in 2014, the books on our shelves did not reflect the diversity of our world. And this message really, so those are a few pictures from the initial hashtag back in 2014 that eventually went viral. A lot of people showed pictures of their kids, which was really lovely. The hashtag itself meant a lot to me because growing up, I was a huge bookworm. My dad would bring my brother and me to the library almost every weekend. And I read so many books, but I never really saw myself or my family in the books that I read. It wasn't until I was a freshman in high school when my English teacher, Mrs. Wilkerson, assigned my class to read The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan that I finally was able to have that mirror book where I could see myself and my family and my culture reflected, and it gave me such a sense of pride and connection. And I knew I just wanted something different for my daughter. I didn't want her to have to wait until she was a high schooler or an adult to find herself in a book. And so I wrote my own tweet with a picture of her, and that is what I posted on Twitter back in 2014, that I hope that, we need diverse books because, girls like my daughter also deserve to see themselves on the page. So back then, the team at WNDB knew that we needed more diverse books, but we also recognized what we were up against. Because back then, only 8.3% of children's books were written by people of color. And yet, that same year in the US, over 50% of children under 5 were minorities. So the numbers were very clear to us. The publishing landscape did not reflect the diversity of our youth, and in turn, that was affecting our literacy rates. So we needed to create change, but that begged a very big question, which was, how do you diversify the entire publishing industry? How would you actually get more diverse books into the hands of children? Where would we even start? So these questions led us to identify 3 key communities that WNDB still serves today, and this includes diverse creators, diverse publishing professionals, and educators and readers across the country. So to start, we had to serve the people writing and illustrating diverse books, and that's why we offer different types of initiatives to help diverse creators get published. These are some of our offerings at WNDB. It includes mentorships, grants, and workshops. Our mentorships, for example, they pair an aspiring writer or illustrator with a published author. They work together over the course of an entire calendar year to help the mentee hone their manuscripts, learn about the publishing industry, and to help them get published. And the photo on the left is of one of our 2019 mentees, Amina Lukman Dawson. She went on to publish her book that she worked on during her mentorship. It is called Free Water, and it won the Newbery in 2023. We also provide grants to diverse creators to give them financial support as they seek publication. The grants themselves can be used for a wide variety of purposes, like going to a writer's conference, paying for childcare, or purchasing a new laptop, which is one of our other grantees did, Angie Thomas. Her old laptop was falling apart, so she used her grant to buy herself a new laptop. And with that, she finished her manuscript that she was working on that became the book, The Hate U Give, which won a ton of awards, was a bestseller, and is also a movie. We also host workshops that bring diverse writers together from across the country and across the world even, so that they can meet with publishing professionals, get their works critiqued, and also connect with other creators. And that is a picture of our recent 2024 Native Writing Intensive, which took place down in Texas. So the second community we serve are diverse publishing professionals, because these are the people who are editing, designing, marketing, selling the books that we all read. And the publishing industry itself has long been pretty homogenous and not very diverse, and that's why we launched our internship grant program back in 2015. We provide living stipends and resources to diverse college students who are interested in learning more about working in publishing. And through these grants, they're able to help pay for rent, moving costs, utilities, whatever else they might need so that they can focus on their summer internships at various publishers and literary agencies. And since 2015, we've supported over 130 grantees, and over 70% of them now are working full-time in publishing. And finally, the third community we serve are teachers, librarians, and students everywhere, because they are the audience, the readers that we are trying to reach. Through our WNDB in the Classroom program, we've donated tens of thousands of inclusive titles to all 50 states. Some of the books we donate include our annual Walter Dean Myers Award winners. So these books are chosen by a committee of librarians, teachers, educators, book lovers, and we actually hosted the 2018 awards in this very room. So it is quite the journey to be back here again. So now that we've kind of gone over the 3 main communities we serve, I wanted to show you how our work shakes out in action. First, I'd love to introduce you to Malia Mauna Kea. She is a writer based out of Denver, Colorado, although she's originally from Hawaii and is part Native Hawaiian. In 2019, she participated in our annual mentorship program. She was paired with the author Alan Gratz. And over the course of that year, under Alan's guidance, she revised her manuscript, which is a middle grade novel set in contemporary Hawaii, and that mixes in a lot of Native Hawaiian mythology. Next, I'd love to introduce you to Elizabeth Lee. She is one of our internship grant recipients. Back in 2017, she was a student at Barnard College, and she used our internship grant while she was interning at Simon & Schuster. She went on to become a full-time editor at Penguin Random House, and it was there at PRH that Malia's manuscript came across her desk, and she made an offer on it. And she and Malia worked together over the course of many months to edit the work and to get it ready for publication. So next, I'd love you to meet Lay and the Fire Goddess, which is Malia's book. It was published in June 2023. It's one of the first Native Hawaiian middle grade novels published by a major publisher. And this is especially important because Native Hawaiian children rarely get to see their culture reflected in fiction. And that's why we sent Malia to her home state of Hawaii, where she was able to speak to over 2,700 students across 5 Hawaiian islands, and we're able to give a copy of her book to all of the students she spoke to so that they could take it home and that they could continue developing a love of reading. This is a quote from a teacher that Malia spoke to. It just kind of goes over how meaningful it was to have a Native Hawaiian author be able to speak to Native Hawaiian students and the impact that it had. So that's essentially our theory of change. It is the work that we do at WNDB. If we want to see more diversity on our shelves, if we want to boost literacy rates, we need to create change across the 3 main stages of publishing, which are the creation of a book, the publication of a book, and the reading of a book, because these are all interconnected. I also thought I'd just go over a few of our fun successes we've had over the years. I know my time is running short. Okay. We've served over 300 diverse writers and illustrators throughout our decade in existence, and some of these creators have gone on to win the highest honors in children's literature, including the Newbery, Morris, Prince, and Coretta Scott King Awards. We've also been able to donate books to all 50 states and several U.S. territories. Shout out to my colleague Alyssa, who leads up the WNDB in the Classroom program. And all told, between the anthologies we published with Penguin Random House and the books by the writers we've supported, we've helped shepherd over 4 million diverse books into the marketplace and into the hands of readers. I have 2 minutes, so I'm trying to think how I can condense this real fast. I think just to show the progress, we've come a long way since 2014. Back then, only 8.3% of books, children's books, were created by writers of color, but since then, we've been able to make so much impact in the industry and increase this number by 35%. We're not near parity yet, but we're getting closer. And this is just how we measure some of our successes. We utilize data from the Cooperative Children's Book Center out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. We also use a data provider called BookScan that essentially tracks how many books are sold around the country. And we also utilize online surveys that we send out to the educators, authors, and interns that we work with. I did want to touch base really fast on a challenge that we've had. That was one of the insightful questions that James posed to us. And I would say the biggest issue we've been tackling at We Need Diverse Books over the last few years are the spread of book bans, because these book bans are targeting BIPOC and LGBTQIA+ authors in particular. And we've just seen this incredible jump in book bans starting into 2021 due to numerous extremist groups in the country that have been trying to restrict access to books, especially books by diverse creators. This is affecting the authors that we've supported. If you see on the left to this slide, those are just a couple of the books that we've helped get created, get published, that are now banned in different states. But we're definitely fighting back. We're rising to the challenge between setting up author visits, buying books by banned authors, helping educators in impacted areas, and also working with congressional representatives. We are the majority. The majority of Americans do not believe in book bans, do not believe in censorship. But it has taken a grave toll on authors, educators, and readers. Just to wind down, we definitely have goals for our second decade, which is to scale up accessibility to diverse books. to continue fighting censorship because it really has become so pervasive in this country. But I also wanted to share a picture of my kids because that little girl you saw at the beginning is now 10 years old, and she has a little brother who is 7. They love reading, they love going to the library, and I'm so grateful that they are growing up in a nation with an institution like the Library of Congress, which is such a beacon of knowledge, history, culture, and growth. So thank you for having us here today.
Thank you so much, Caroline. We now have a few moments for anyone who has any questions for Caroline, and we need diverse books. I see some.
Hi. I've seen that some programs that target grants toward people based on their ethnicities are being challenged in court. And have you had that problem, or do you anticipate having that problem in the future?
We have heard the same thing, and it's something that we've discussed. And so we are kind of tweaking some of our language too, and especially how we announce, certain grants that we have or opportunities. It's actually something that came up in a seminar that my colleague Alyssa went to, and it was a lawyer brought that up, that some nonprofits are seeing lawsuits brought up against them. So it's definitely something that's front of our mind as well. Thank you.
Buju, I just want to thank We Need Diverse Books because I was able to attend the Native Writing Intensive in Austin at the Writing Barn. And We Need Diverse Books is helping me locate a new editor since mine retired during COVID, and a new publisher since mine was purchased by Little Brown. And so I'm not losing sight of where you are and what you're doing, and I appreciate all your efforts.
No, thank you so much. It's so meaningful. Thank you.
First, thank you for the important work that you all do, you all lead. I just have a question. Given the prevalence of book bans across the country at the moment we find ourselves in the United States, if you all have any resources that either you all have put together or that you could point people in the direction to help organize and inform resistance to movements to ban books, whether it's a toolkit for family organizing to go to a school board meeting and push back, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
Thank you
for that question. Actually, on our website, we do have several online guides on what to do if you are seeing a book getting challenged in your community. We have a guide for teachers, a guide for librarians, and a guide for parents and just interested community members. We put that together a couple years ago, and it's just our way of showing that this is an issue for all Americans, and we can all get involved in some way. And I think one thing we encourage folks to do, if they're able to, is to go to school board meetings and speak up. We've heard from so many teachers and librarians of how meaningful it is to know that they're not alone and that they have the support of their community. It's always a little nerve-wracking to have 3 minutes in front of people, but I know from them it's very powerful to have, just to know that there are people in their backyard who believe in the freedom to read and who are there to support them. Thank you. You want me to show more pictures of my kids? I can. They were very curious about this part. They were like, because I was a little nervous about that Q&A, because I'm like, well, you can't really prepare for a Q&A. My daughter was like, well, I'll help. I'll ask you some tough questions. But you guys are all lovely. I can report back that everyone was so nice.
I know we had one question that we've been thinking about is just any next steps for your organization that you are thinking about on the horizon, anything that you would like to see more of in the world, in the publishing industry, or from the work that your organization does?
I think two things come to mind. We're actually working on a new initiative that we're going to get ready to launch the inaugural recipient of, called Adopt a Library. Throughout our work, we're a small team, so I actually read a lot of the grant applications that come our way. And just reading through these applications and seeing the dire need in this country of teachers and librarians with just no funding, who are utilizing their own paychecks to buy books and resources for their kids. And so the Adopt a Library program is this idea of like, well, let's just help a school library. Let's give them an injection of books. Do they need bean bags, to make a cozy reading corner? Do they need new shelving? But I'd love to be able to scale that up. Right now we're just starting with one recipient that we'd like to work with this school year. How amazing would it be to do 10 or 20 or 50? Because we receive dozens of applications for this. The need is there, but the funding isn't. I'd also love to just increase accessibility. I've found that, there are a lot of folks in rural areas of this country that still haven't heard of us or might not understand the need for diverse literature in their community, so we'd love to reach out to them. I'm considering maybe attending, there's like a librarian conference for people in rural areas. And yeah, just really continuing to try to scale up what we do across the nation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
When I think about the plight of refugees, I think about Orshan Shire's poem, Home, in which she writes, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. No one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land." My name is Don Vu, and I'm a proud member of the Library of Congress Advisory Board. I'm also a refugee. About 50 years ago, my home was the mouth of a shark. My family and I fled Vietnam right before the fall of Saigon, a few days before the fall of Saigon, and we had lost our country, we had lost our home, and we were the lucky ones. We ended up in America, where individuals opened up their homes to us. We had individuals welcoming us to their communities, and organizations such as Catholic Charities, ensuring that we were enrolled in school, making sure that we had everything we needed for daily life. And so without those individuals and organizations, I would not be here, a refugee standing here in the Library of Congress, the second largest library in the world. Is Dr. Hayden here still? She's like shooting darts at me. The greatest library in the world. So we've come full circle because a refugee is introducing an organization that is making the lives of refugees much better. It's my honor and privilege to introduce to you the Asama Project, the winner of this year's International Prize for their innovative work, their impactful work with teen refugees in Lebanon. I'm going to introduce to you Laura Harrison, who started off as an intern, I believe, and is a former technology consultant, and she is now the Strategy and Development Officer at Asama. I'm going to introduce to you Richard Verity, former management consultant with over 2 decades of experience working with global companies on strategy and organization, and is one of the 4 co-founders of the Asama Project. And this is an NGO that has established 4 informal secondary schools in Lebanon, in the refugee camps of Lebanon. But it's an NGO with a difference, and I'm going to have Richard come up to explain what that difference is. So let's give Richard Verity and the Sama Project a big round of applause.
So, when we first learned that we had won the International Prize for the Library of Congress, we knew it was a great honor. I think I now feel it an even greater honor coming in as we do the last, almost the last in a parade of presentations, quite extraordinary presentations, and it feels a tremendous honor to be one of those. It also feels a tremendous pleasure to be talking about Al Sama, a unique NGO, and an NGO perhaps made unique by circumstance. So in Lebanon as we speak, there are 660,000 Syrian refugees. They're living in tent encampments like the one you can see there on the right. That's the Marj refugee camp. Or they're living in slums in places like southern Beirut, places like Shatila and Borj el Barajneh. Just look at those statistics. So 58% of those children have never been to school of any kind. Less than 3% have managed to finish secondary education, and that's probably because less than 3% started secondary education in the first place. And the results of that are evident in the row underneath. So early marriage, that's marriage of girls 12, 13 years old with very little choice on the decision, and forced labor in the streets, boys picking up plastic, are endemic and really all that these children have to look forward to. So Al Sama means sky in Arabic. We try to create new horizons for Syrian refugees. We are registered in the US, in the UK, and in Lebanon. And as Don mentioned, we have now 4 schools and 2 refugee camps. That's 880 students. 70% of our staff are themselves refugees, and 95% of our staff, I would imagine, are local. But this staff population has come into contact with and is influenced by major international companies like McKinsey, Skadden, PwC, and that explains perhaps why there is an interest in Al Sama in detail. There is a professionalism, there is a desire for data, there is a real concern about measurement. The girl that you see there is Marwa. She has no other options except Al Sama for secondary education. We teach Al Sama students 3 values. So those are ambition, collaboration, and commitment. If ever you come and visit Al Sama, and in quieter times, my goodness, we'd love you to do just that, you'll be challenged by our children saying, what are your values? Our values are ambition, collaboration, and commitment. And those values inform our teaching approach, our educational approach, as much as the children's behavior. So let's start with ambition. So there you have, on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, a set of children performing an opera. An opera for which they have created both the lyrics and the music. We are trying to create a world-class education inside these refugee camps, not just a basic education. As for collaboration, we obviously operate inside the refugee camp. And here what you can see is the view from one of the windows in the Shatila 1 school. We have to have extremely good relationships with the camp, with the parents. Our students walk to school. And then finally, commitment. So if we are going to make up for many years of no education, lost education, we have to teach our children intensively. So we teach them 44 weeks a year, practically no holidays, But the children want that. They have no particular activity that they can do in their flats, in which a one-bedroom flat has 14 people living in it. So they often have to be encouraged to leave the school at the end of the day rather than encouraged to come to school. What you can see there are the children in Bourges 1. This is their very first day of school. They're all a little bit shy and nervous, but what they're raising is their educational passports, their hope for a better, very different kind of existence.
We claim boldly to deliver 12 years of standard education in just 6 years. When our students join us, 90% are illiterate or enumerate, and 95% have never been to formal school before. Through our self-designed curriculum, we take them from illiterate to C2 level in Arabic and C1 level in English in just 6 years. English as a foreign language, this exceeds standard secondary education in many countries around the world. Through the rest of our curriculum, we take our students from illiterate 12-year-olds to university ready by the age of 18. We are also working hard to make sure that universities are ready for our students. So we currently provide non-formal education. Education for education's sake is important, but we need recognition for our students, which will allow them to enter pathways beyond Al-Sama. And we're working on this in 3 ways. Firstly, we are seeking accreditation for education centres as international schools. When successful, this means that we will be able to give each of our students an accredited transcript at the end of each year and an accredited certificate or diploma once they finish the entire 6-year programme. They'll be able to use this to apply to international universities and for visas to get them there. Secondly, we are developing a new standardised qualification, the G12++. This is a curriculum-agnostic exam that will make refugee students understandable to universities and employers, and it's been nicknamed a global GED for refugee students. Finally, we are partnering with a number of universities around the world, such as Arizona State, Moravian, and the University of Cambridge, to make sure that our students are meeting their academic requirements and set up for success. We pay attention to the whole child through our range of extracurricular programs. For example, cricket, perhaps not the most obvious choice of competitive sport for Syrian refugee teenagers living in Lebanon, particularly for an American audience. But we find it works really well, largely because girls and boys can play together. It's a non-contact sport, so that means that girls can step into leadership roles and become role models for other girls on the pitch and also for boys. We also offer music and art. This helps our students to develop their creative side, and it also underpins our literacy programs. For instance, in music, our students compete. They perform in English singing competitions. And in art, they use art exhibitions as an opportunity to explain to audiences the influences that their life experience have had on their artwork. Finally, we offer a range of clubs, and our students participate in chess competitions, debating competitions, and recently some of our most advanced students wrote and performed TED Talks to an audience. So what we're trying to do is build the sort of education that many of us in this room here experienced. And our students are extraordinarily committed, probably because they know the alternative to education. Attendance averages 94% across all education centres, and this is just one example from our Shatila One Education Centre for the last academic year. Our academic results are just as impressive. We claim, again, boldly, to eradicate innumeracy in less than 5 months. And here's the data to back that up. In our Bourges One Education Centre, our students moved from 12% numeracy to 95% numeracy in less than 5 months. And we make similar progress with literacy. Our Arabic A2 students, they're in year 2, approximately US grade 4, 100% of them failed our baseline exam in September last year. By the end of the year, 81% of them passed. We believe that our best students are as good as any in the world. I'm just going to take a minute to talk about Maram, who you can see in these photos. She is one of our superstar students. She joined us 4 years ago, completely illiterate, completely enumerate, couldn't read or write her own name in Arabic. But this story starts this year. We met with the British Embassy in Lebanon, and Maram came along with us. But she was denied entry into the embassy because she didn't have her passport. Less than 5 months later, she won the Lebanon-wide Ambassador for a Day competition, where she beat students from across Lebanon, including top private schools. And she spent the day shadowing the UK ambassador. And she also met the Lebanon Minister for Education, who presented her with this certificate that you can see in the photo. This certificate essentially granted her the ability to enter into any state school in the whole of Lebanon. But she chose to stay at Al-Sama. Key to our success is making sure that our students remain at the center of everything we do. To make sure this happens, we run annual surveys for our students, for parents, and for teachers. In the most recent set of surveys, we learned that 93% of parents believe that their children receive a good education. And this comes from a parent population who was largely skeptical when we first began. Even more importantly, we discovered that our students don't just enjoy coming to school, they don't just enjoy their classes, they actually have begun to build their identity around their education and around Al-Sama. And 94% now agree that they are proud to be part of Al-Sama. Looking to the future, we currently have 4 education centres and 880 students. But last year, we also had a waiting list of 2,700 students just in the refugee camps that we currently serve. But what we also have is a tried and tested model and a proof of concept. And there's a much wider problem with refugee education in the Middle East. We believe that we are the solution. So through a combination of our own growth and franchising, we aim to create 43 education centres by 2029, allowing us to reach almost 10,000 students.
So these slides that you've just seen, most of them were created perhaps 6, 8 weeks ago, and they feel now rather historical, somewhat overwhelmed by events. So on September the 28th, Beirut came under a bombardment. Shatila and Burj el Brajni, the 2 refugee camps where we operate, were evacuated, and our schools were forced to close down. This felt like the end of Al-Sama, but in fact it was just another new beginning. The first thing that happened was that the CEO, my wife, Micah, decided against all advice that she would not be leaving Beirut. The second thing is that we decided that we would continue to pay for all staff, all teachers, and then we also then issued telephones and SIM cards to all the students, so that with a day or 2 of gap, all students continued their classes at a distance, even those that were sleeping rough or had gone to other parts of Beirut or other parts of Lebanon. We also set up mini Al-Sama schools in what were meant to be safer places of Beirut, although, of course, this is something of a lottery. I think, though, we can say with great pride that in the last 3 weeks, possibly last 4 weeks, because I would include this week too, Al-Sama's 4 schools are the only schools in the entire country that have continued to operate. I have to say, Al-Sama has been the most fulfilling work that I've ever done, the most meaningful work that I've ever done. And it's brought me into contact with some of the most extraordinary people, including our students. And here I want to just introduce Luai, who, like so many of the students that Laura has mentioned, was illiterate when he first arrived at Al-Sama. He couldn't read or write Arabic, and he couldn't count. It took him 6 months to do all of that, and took him 2 years, a mere 2 years, to learn to speak fluent English. He's also an extraordinarily good cricketer. And you can see him there in his cricket shirt. When the bombing started, he was taken by his parents back to Syria, which in truth is no safer than Lebanon. As many bombs fall on Syria as they do on Lebanon. He came from Raqqa, which is, some of you will know, the place where ISIS had its capital city, and ISIS is still active there. And he found himself in a world in which he had no educational prospects and a very insecure future. So he hiked across a desert by himself, trekked through the mountains, and the photograph that you can see here is him being met by 2 Al-Sama teachers on the other side of the border, having now reached Lebanon. And 5 hours later, here he is in class, chanting the Al-Sama values of commitment, collaboration, and ambition. If we have been lucky enough to win this International Prize for the Library of Congress, the reason that we have, in very large part, is because of students like Luai. Thank you.
Let's give Richard and Laura a big round of applause. And of course, the Al-Sama Project. We have some time right now to ask any questions. I think Judy has the mic. If you have any questions, please raise your hand.
First of all, I just wanted to say that your work is amazing and just humbling. But I'm wondering what it looks like for these students who are trying to go to college somewhere outside. What is the immigration process like? Is Al-Sama able to help them with those visas or with travel? Or what does that look like for a student who has lived their whole lives maybe in a refugee camp?
Yeah, it's complicated. They need proof of their education, which we're working on. They also require some kind of formal ID. Some of them have managed to get those. Some of them have not yet managed to get those. But that is a large reason why we are, at the moment, reaching out to embassies for support with things like that. They will all also need a full ride. That's not just tuition, that's living expenses, that's grocery shopping, and all the expenses in between. So that's something that we are also still working towards. Our most advanced students are just entering their 5th year of the 6-year program. So we have almost 2 years to answer all of those questions, but they are big questions.
Yeah, just echoing what was shared before. Thank you for just the incredible work that you're doing. So inspiring and humbling as well. I just had a quick question about, I think you had mentioned after the bombing, you had distributed mobile phones. So I was just curious to hear a little bit more about the role that technology has played in connecting with your students, creating access to learning.
So we've had a mixed relationship with technology. Clearly, at the moment, we are extremely grateful to it. Without those WhatsApp messages, without the telephones, without the SIM cards, we would not be able to push forward the children. We would not be able to give them the structure that is so important in truth for their morale. Having said that, it's also true that we have not been very successful in hybrid education. That what our students who are illiterate at the start need most of all is a teacher at the front of the classroom. And if they have that, then they have a role model, they have the ability to concentrate fully, and they make progress very quickly. Now, having said that, there is one other piece of technology that has been extremely helpful to us, which of course is Zoom or Teams. We have our children being mentored in English, and not just in English, in life skills from around the world. And if you are a Syrian refugee, isolated from your own country and quite isolated within your adopted country as well, it's extraordinarily helpful, extraordinarily comforting to be able to link up with a student in America or a student in Britain. And so we have those mentoring programs that do depend on Zoom.
Hi, thank you. I had a two-part question. One, you mentioned the program is 6 years, and I was just curious how you came up with 6 years versus 5 or 7 or 8. And the curriculum, was that something you guys developed yourself or something you found and worked on and improved?
I'll start with the second part. So the curriculum is self-developed. When Al-Sama first started, we trialled the Syrian curriculum and we trialled the Lebanese curriculum, but basically we found that it just didn't work for our students. It just didn't resonate with them. So the curriculum itself is self-developed and it's highly tailored to our students' lives and their everyday experiences in the camps. The 6-year program really comes from what's possible. So it's 12 years of education. So we're compressing 2 years into every 1 year. If we could make it 5, I'm sure we would.
Hi, thank you. You know, as everyone has said, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. It really is inspiring. I was wondering what goes into building and managing relationships with the refugee camps that you work in, and then if there were any kind of cultural differences that you encountered at first when you were trying to build those relationships.
Very astute question. Yeah, so Shatila and Bojel Barajni are extremely poor, extremely conservative, extremely political, extremely religious. These aren't necessarily straightforward places for an organization like ourselves to operate. And at the start, there is skepticism, not quite hostility, but certainly skepticism. There are some stands that we make which pitch us against the community, and the stand that gets us into most trouble, but also the stand which we do take, is against early marriage. So if you're going to be part of an Al-Sama school, you cannot marry until the end of your education. Now, in order to get, and you saw, we were extremely proud of the way that when we did do our anonymous survey of parents, actually we got a great deal of support. And that waiting list of 2,700 children is a very good indicator that our reputation in the camp is now a positive one and people want to join Al-Sama. We've really worked quite hard at that. Now, it's extremely helpful that most of the people who work in Al-Sama are also from the camps, and so that kind of radiates a certain amount of goodwill. It's also important, I think, that that we do some programs which are not just for the students. So one of our more successful programs was reaching out to the parents, both mothers and fathers. I have to say the mothers were more successful than the fathers, and teaching them what it is that we were teaching their children, and running basic literacy classes, particularly for the mothers. When that works well, the mothers of the first cohort then teach the mothers of the next cohort, and so we cascade. So those kinds of initiatives have eventually meant that we have been truly really rather well accepted in a camp that could otherwise have been uncertain about what we were doing.
Hi there. I just want to tell you that your program is extraordinary. I'll use your word. And it left me awestruck. On a very practical note, I'm kind of curious about how you cultivate relationships with local councils that are in power and govern, and maybe regional, national, and what that looks like, and the work you need to do to really build those, if I dare say, partnerships or at least relationships so that you can meet with success. Thank you.
Yeah, these are wonderful questions. We have, you can probably find out if you look up Shatila in particular, which is a famous refugee camp. So Shatila is run by a set of Palestinian factions, not by the Lebanese government. So when you enter Shatila, you enter a very particular, rather lawless world. And the names of those Palestinian factions, I don't think I'd be comfortable mentioning in a group like this, and I'm not sure you'd be comfortable hearing. We have an arm's length relationship with them. Certainly, I mean, the people who from the camp will know who they are, and they know who we are. We don't have a great deal of engagement, but I wonder if I can mention this. This is a bit daring. Imagine this is a kind of group of friends, and this won't go out on social media. So one of the people that runs one of the part of the camps is an organisation called Jihad. Jihad, I'm fairly confident, is described as a terrorist organisation in Britain and in the US and around the world. And there was a moment where someone said to me, would you like to meet the head of Jihad, Shatila? And I thought, this may not go terribly well, this particular conversation. So I went up and talked to the head of Jihad, and what do you think he said to me? Thank you so much for being in Shatila. This is wonderful work that you're doing. I'd love to give you a cup of tea. And that was just a nice moment where, yeah, the bridges across great gulfs of political opinion can in fact be made, and tells you a little bit why Al-Sama continues to operate, continues to stand tall.
We have time for one more question.
So some people may say it's almost impossible to do the work that you're doing in the conditions that you're doing it. So I'm curious as to how did this all start?
So it starts in different places. Although let me just tell you how I suspect that many of the educators in this room have much less fertile, much more challenging educational environments than we do. I have never been in a place where the educational environment is so fertile, where you have students so committed, so willing to learn, so able to radiate joy when they master something. This is not like my own children, for whom education was a chore. This is a group of children for whom education is an absolute privilege. And if you can teach them cricket, then you can teach them pretty much anything. So, forgive me, and the next part, how did we all get involved in it? In different ways. I mean, and I look at my table here where I see some of my ex-colleagues. So I was a management consultant. I had a midlife crisis, which I managed to synchronize with my wife. Very important to get the timing of these things right. So she was a novelist. She's written 5 books, was running a publishing company in North London. I was doing my consulting, headquarters, airports, and there was something very badly missing in my life, which was any kind of visible social impact. And so I took a sabbatical in order to work in Lebanon for Syrian refugees. And I say that, yeah, you should all come and visit if you had a chance, and you definitely should. But beware, it is a slippery slope. Once you've met the children, once you've seen what they're going through, once you've seen their resilience, it's very hard not to go one more step, and then another step, and then another step, until eventually your entire life is dedicated to them.
Osama, let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you for changing the world. Thank you.
Please, again, keep that applause coming for all of our speakers and for all of the board members. Thank you so much for sharing about your work.